It's not really hearing it, but I can feel the pulse.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, to hear your heartbeat, you have to go into those one of those really quiet rooms. They have like, I guess, a bunch of like the soundproofing materials and all that, but it's just like a noise isolation room. Different kind of sensory deprivation. Everybody says like you go crazy if you go in there for a couple minutes, but some people seem to be able to handle it better than others.
As we've talked about before, I've been lucky enough to go to some of the recording studios in Toronto that have just the absolute most quiet of quiet rooms, and it's jarring to stand in the middle when nobody else is there. We each got a turn.
I really want to try that.
Door gets shut, and it's like literally nothing you've ever heard.
Sounds fantastic.
It's if you turned off all the sound, like all the sound your products would make, and you sat in there, you could be creatively productive if quiet was your thing. I like a little bit of sound when I'm writing, so music helps, but
yeah, I like to listen to music too for productivity's sake. Although I would like to try the separate sensory deprivation. I can't speak right now. I'm too tired from work. Sensory deprivation angle would be interesting. The quietest place I can think of that I've ever been is when I was a kid. I used to build snow forts, and if you get a really thick walled snow fort, it's the middle of the night, nobody's driving around the neighborhood, it can be silent in an extreme kind of way. Especially if you can lay still. That's the kind of environment you could stay still and hear your heartbeat, I think. But otherwise, it's not. I don't think it's that easy to necessarily hear a heartbeat, even if you can feel it.
One of the most relaxing noises or sounds I've heard. I mean, one of my favorites is obviously ocean or waves crashing on the beach. But you take it one step further. On some of the ships that I've been on, they don't do it anymore. They don't let you do it. But you used to be able to go out to the helicopter pad at the front of the ship. Not as far as the Titanic point, like not the front of the ship. There's always a helicopter pad on the front. So normally it's an observation deck.
Yeah.
And they used to open it up at night. And they'd open it up in half-an-hour chunks. So you could go out and they'd shut off the lights. And all you see is just a 360 of the stars. And if it's your day at sea and you're out in the ocean and there's nothing around you, and they shut off the lights to the front of the ship, which I would imagine is slightly dangerous for the ship to do. I guess out in the middle of nowhere, maybe not.
What's going to happen?
And all you hear is the surprisingly quiet crashes of the waves hitting the ship. That's a neat sound.
That sounds amazing. Why do you think they stopped letting people do that?
I have no idea. The last one that I went on in 2016, I asked. Like I said, that was such a powerful thing when I was younger, and they just won't let you. They won't let you do it.
I'm also surprised that at the very bow of the ship they don't let you go up there. Like it's not an observation area.
I don't know why. Another neat thing, although it's not as nice, is going to the center and back of the ship and just watching the wake of the ship.
So you can go to the back of it?
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. I guess probably not all cruise ships are the same, although I'd imagine they're similar.
I'm assuming once one, especially in a brand of cruise ship, once one takes a standard, at least the ones in the fleet do. It's unfortunate, but I think I was 13 when I saw it last, and I don't think I appreciate it as much as I would now, but just I can't think of another place that I've been that would let you look all the way around and only see stars. Because Tila's Cottage is great for stars, but you look around and you see trees. Like it was just an open.
You climb one of those trees.
Yes, you could do that.
It's kind of amazing. If you get into a big enough field, or if you went out to the middle of the water, you might have a better shot at it. Also, at my family cottage is pretty damn amazing. I got lots of good astrophotography from up there because you see stars unlike anywhere else, pretty much. Very little light pollution.
So that's just my.
Algonquin Park would be a great place for that.
I haven't been to Algonquin Park in a long time.
No,
and I'd love to go back.
It's a long drive from here. It's super isolated in an interesting way because it's basically prohibitive to have like populations moving in there. Like there's no ability for people to go and live there. it's this huge expansive park where once you go in, you're in, and the rest of society is kind of not around. And yeah, there's little shops and stuff on some of the streets, but it feels very isolated too. Like, and there's definitely, it's geared towards lots of people just come up for a passive hike or whatever, and there's a bunch of trails that are clearly marked out and they're short and that you can do them in like less than an hour. And then there's the backcountry trails that are just make up your own trail, do whatever you want to do.
I like the canoeing.
Camp on some of them and all that. You like canoeing? Yeah.
Portaging.
That's an interesting thing that's available to me now, because my truck is very suited to having a canoe tied up. I have like roof racks and all that. If I had a canoe or a kayak, I feel like I'd probably take advantage of it at this point, because I've never been able to at any other point in my life.
It's fun. It's nice. Last one I did, it wasn't at Algonquin. We used to canoe quite a bit. The one that we did, we started on a river about like 15 minutes out of Tilsonburg, and we just went the entire weekend. Like, we knew we'd be picked up at some point. We just had to find the right spot, and we just went as far as we could. We camped in a field.
Interesting to do that on the French River, because that's what I've canoed the most. And I mean, I could get my family to pick me up after the end of it, but just go down the river as far as you can. Maybe just go
falling out of a canoe.
You fell out of the canoe?
Not out of. I was with. It was a mix of us older scouts and the youngest one. One of the people that was at the wedding that we did for Blaine and Kelsey, and he and I had become friends, so he went with me, but we both had different canoe goals. It seemed that there were a few times in the river where you could take the safe way down the river, or you could kind of go over some logs and whatnot. And he was younger and he was in the back, so he was steering. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really get to choose.
No.
And at one point we went over a downed log and we got stuck. Thankfully not because of me. My front end went over, but we got stuck. So I got out of the canoe on the log to try to push him over. And part of the log wasn't a log. It was just piled up wood that looked, it was
so
weird.
You just fell right through.
After a few minutes of pushing, I fell right into the water. And it was fine. I got out.
Yeah. I never fallen out of a canoe, which sounds really annoying if you tip one over, but I have intentionally rolled over a kayak, because
I've done
that's
that.
Just something you do for some reason when you're kayaking. I like kayaking more than canoeing.
I like kayaking.
The agility you have doing it is so much better, I would say. Like, you feel so much more in control. You can steer quicker. You can move quicker.
I used to kayak in Bob Cajun.
That is a place I'd like to visit. I don't know if there's much else to do other than kayaking there.
I mean, probably water sports.
Yeah. Is there like some kind of memorial for the tragically hip or something?
Probably,
isn't there? Probably a lot of people going there just for that.
Although one of the nice things about falling out of a canoe on a down log is it was very easy to get back in the canoe. I climbed up on the log and got back in the canoe. Yeah. So that wasn't bad. That was also the place where I shot a duck.
Oh, very nice.
We were good. It was fun. I loved it.
There's a certain feeling for some reason that comes about with weather warming up and spring coming, and I know it hasn't started yet. It's difficult to quantify, and I was feeling it on the drive here. For some reason, usually when I think back to where this feeling begins, it's usually somebody drops a really good album, and there's something that just defines the rest of the year. And I want to, for me, it was Kendrick Lamar's "Damn" at the beginning of last year or 2017? I don't know. It was a while ago. That was one of the springs that it came out, and that just set the mood for the entire summer. And it's almost like you wake up out of this weird winter depression slumber.
Do you get the fall depression?
No, I get it February, like now.
See, now it doesn't bother me. I know I don't know why, but not October, November. There's always those slightly darker than average gray days where the leaves are blowing around and there's that winter chill in the air. And I haven't been able to figure out what it is, because as much as I like the summer, I don't mind the winter. But every fall, there's just that slight depression that hits where it's like, but I haven't figured out why. But every year it happens. And every year I like, oh, this feeling again. And I don't know if it's like, it's another year gone by or something like that.
Maybe.
But it's
less direct for me to do with even the weather. It's more, for some reason, at this time of year, things like repetitive behaviors, like for instance, at work, if I'm doing a task in building a house that I've done so many times and I know it in and out, that is just mind-numbingly, it becomes like painful on how mind-numbing it is. And it's just, for some reason this time of year, that just brings it out. I could be doing the same thing in the summertime and not really mind as much. And finding new tasks and things that are different at this time of year is kind of neat. It kind of keeps things interesting. It doesn't really have to be all depressing, but it's definitely work related, I would say. I didn't really get it when I was in school. I wouldn't say so.
Do you find it harder to wake up in the mornings when it's negative 20 out compared to a nice 20-degree morning in the summer?
Yeah. For some reason, the morning is actually the best part of the day. I love pretty much from about 5:30 when I wake up until about 10 o'clock. And after that, I've had it.
Why is that? Just because of the cold?
I just like the morning. No, I don't. The cold's fine. It doesn't really bother me that much. You get used to doing things in like freezing temperatures too. Like this morning at work, the air compressor that runs on like a gas Honda engine it would turn on and it would shut off, and I've seen the symptoms like dozens and dozens and dozens of times. So I knew, okay, it's time to change the oil or top it up or whatever, because it burns a little bit of oil. Something about doing that in the freezing cold, while for most people be a huge pain in the ass, is for some reason exhilarating to me. I love it. It's similar to the show. What's the one that we were talking about? In the freezing cold up north.
Life Below Zero.
Life Below Zero. It's like that. It's for some reason it is extremely satisfying solving problems in extreme conditions.
So in other words, you're ready to go film season 7 with me?
Are they actually 6 seasons deep?
They're pretty deep compared to...
I've never got past the first season. I love the show. I just never... It's not like the kind of thing I think of watching when I go to sit down and watch TV.
When you mentioned it to me, I watched like the first 3 or 4 episodes, and it's on my list, but...
It's good.
Now I'm back on a Shark Tank kick for some reason. That's because when I'm doing stuff around, if I listen to Shark Tank, it's more formulaic than, say, Life Below Zero, but it's less formulaic than House, which is another show I'm watching. House, yes, they're always going to solve the illness at the end of the show. At least with Shark Tank, you get to learn about different businesses, and then you get to hear the opinion and whatnot. And
never got into Shark Tank. I like the idea of it a little bit, but I don't really care to watch it.
It's an interesting show, and it's one that, like, when you see...
It'd be the kind of show that I'd be watching, and there's these these business people that are going to invest in something, and I'd be sitting there calling them a fucking idiot because they made a decision contrary to what I believe about said product or something.
Sometimes they do that.
They don't see potential, or they see potential where it doesn't exist, and they're full of shit.
But some of them have billions of dollars to say that they're right.
Yeah.
Like, there are some products where all think it's stupid, and they'll go in, and the panel is a variety of different people. There's real estate investors, there's different investors. So for some to say, this isn't my industry, I'm out, that's not a smite on the product. That's just, I can't really do anything with this. I can't give you the value you're looking for. And because I don't have I mean, first off, I don't have $1 billion, but I don't have expertise. I can look at them kind of neutrally and think what could or couldn't be done. But there's some good products, and there's some really stupid products, and then there's some really in-between products that could work, but then it's all down to the people. Very rarely is there a really good product and a really stupid person, and on the flip side, very rarely is there a really smart person and a really stupid product. But there's a lot of weird in-betweens where the product is just kind of but the person selling it could probably sell 1 million units, and vice versa. Sometimes a product has potential, but the person just isn't amazing. So it's neat. It's, once again, unfortunately formulaic, especially in the way that they shoot it. Typically, the last pitch in every episode
Gets invested.
typically gets a little bit longer. There's quite often some sort of story behind it, and more often than not, although sometimes they do throw you through a curveball, so I guess that's nice because then it's not formulaic. They don't get the pitch, and then every so often there's a pre-roll. Like, they'll actually go to the business's headquarters and be like, we're so and so from here, and this is what we do, and they'll tell the story. And you would think that as they walk in and pitch, that automatically means they're going to get it, but no, sometimes they spend the time to film the pre-roll and then they don't get the deal. So they kind of play with the expectations a little bit.
What kind of products do people usually make? Are we talking about stuff you would use in like a household, or like in, say, like agricultural industry or something?
It's all over the place.
It's all over the place. It sounds interesting by nature.
The last episode I watched was from season 7 of Shark Tank, and it was a military special. So it was all people who were ex-military or current military. In the episode, one of the pitchers was a military guy who solved a tie problem, like an actual necktie problem. And he came up with, just, it sounds kind of stupid to explain it, but a literal attachment for your button-down shirt that would hang high enough on the back of the tie and low enough and go through the loop of the tie, so that way the tie always stayed snug with your shirt, yet there was movement with the shirt, unlike the clips, which sometimes let the tie pull up, and then when you sit down, it worked. That's a very odd thing, and he didn't get the funding, but then, I mean, if I ever saw it, I might do it, but I don't wear ties too often anymore. There was a team of military wives who teamed up with other military wives. I learned that most American military wives, it's the third time I said that, move an average of once every 2.9 years across country to follow their military husbands. And they say that creates a lot of issues because you can't build a community in 3. Like, it's really hard to kind of show yourself in this community, to know you're going to be gone for 3 years. You can't really attain anything more than a part-time job or a full-time just menial job, because you're going to be gone in 3 years. So what they did is they
network. You have like a social network.
They created a social network for military wives, and what they do is they take a bunch of old military uniforms and outfits and pieces, and they make handbags and designer items, like purses, and every purse gets designed by a specific, like, there's a design, but every purse gets put together by a specific wife. There's a story behind the clothing and whatnot, so it's a bit interesting. They had the last one, which was again a little bit longer because there was a story. There was a couple of guys who had a clothing business that was manufactured, of all places, in Afghanistan. These American guys who had found a woman who was Afghan, came to America to learn, went back to Afghanistan after she heard that there was some, I mean, obviously they don't treat women that well there. This woman created an underground schooling for women in Afghanistan, and then eventually was able to build a company out of it. So this Afghan woman has a factory that employs just women, which is a very forward-thinking thing in Afghanistan. I could be getting some of the facts wrong. And they make the product. So it's American, but it's kind of... It's an American company, but they're going about it in a different way compared to the military. They're employing Afghans. They're creating relationships with the people. I did not pitch that well.
No. They
got the money. It's a very good pitch.
I was wondering.
But it made sense.
some of the ideas are more, I guess, long and strung out like that one. Is there anything that's like revolutionary on there? Like somebody invents something with the impact of like a can opener or something that has integrated itself into our daily lives. And
Right now?
yeah, nothing has anything ever come on the show to be like that.
Have you ever had clodhoppers?
Yeah.
They were on there. That's an odd thing.
When was this show first aired?
Well, okay, sorry, not Shark Tank. They were on Dragon's Den,
When
the Canadian version.
When was that first
like
aired?
2009?
And that's when
2010.
clodhoppers became a thing? I could have swore they were older than that, but maybe not. They're good.
Yeah. That's a weird one because it's not really a utility thing.
It's not really going to change the world, but they were good candy.
Well, a product, every so often products will come on that I recognize, and that's always neat because like when you watch Survivor and somebody wins Survivor, you never hear from them again. What did they do? They survived. That's great.
Probably
They
did
win
a bunch
$1
of blow
million.
and
They go home.
lost their money.
Right? At least with this, when you see somebody win, A, you can Google to see if they're around, if you think the product's good enough, but B, I see some stuff in stores. And on Dragon's Den, the Canadian version, one of the earlier seasons, some guy came in who had the same back issue that I had, and he said the problem was every winter I became useless. I couldn't shovel.
Okay.
He said just the way that shovels work, and he created something that got a deal almost instantaneously called the Heft, and I think it's in Canadian Tire and all those places. And what it is, it's an attachment for the shovels.
It just goes on the front.
It goes on the front and handle, and then that way it's more arm movement than back movement. And I see it every year, and every year it's like that's amazing.
I used one of those shovels at work not that long ago. It was okay. I didn't really know so much of a difference, but I don't have back problems, so maybe that's where you get the benefit.
So just kind of neat. I mean, the show itself, the reason why it does so well is because, be it the Canadian version, Dragon's Den, or the American version, Shark Tank, it's selling the American or the Canadian dream.
A little bit. It also would probably make me think. I don't know what. It's the striving towards having more creative jobs. Everybody's got this creative desire in them for the most part.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Almost everybody will never bring those creative, passions to fruition. It's just this weird issue with society where like there's tons of new jobs all the time, but just about all of them lack any creative input. Even if you were involved in a creative project, something like to do maybe like film production like you're still being told what to do at the end of the day, and you pretty much have no weight with changing the final picture of what you're doing in many ways.
Okay, take film production as a whole. That's a very creative thing. At least on the outside, it's very creative. It's a business, right? Almost every job is creative only to an extent. That director that I met doing the one show,
Yep,
staying vague. His job is to direct the show, but he can't say, "Oh, I'm going to kill off this character." That doesn't work.
No.
Why? Because the showrunner said, "Yeah, that's not what's going to happen."
yes.
Now the showrunner can't say, "Actually, you know what? Yeah, we're going to kill off this character." Can't do that because the producers, that's not it. Okay. And if the producer's like, "Actually, we're going to kill off the character," TV network says you can't do that. So there's a
lot of people weighing in.
There's a lot of people weighing in,
and there's probably a huge fleet of writers that are all sort of bringing ideas to the table. So,
might be easier to go that way.
This is how I die.
It won't be easier going that way, I don't think.
Oh God!
I think you're wrong about
trapped.
that, Jesse. You can move that. We can move it after.
We have rope and a balcony.
That seems like bad choices.
Oh boy.
But no, that's true. There's a lot of creativity, but there's only so much.
There's a few of the jobs give you large creativity. Another, instance of it too is if you're talking about just working at a fast food place making burgers. That's your job.
I've done it.
Your extent of the creativity is where you're going to place the pickles on the burger, right? There's not that much choice. You don't get to choose what's on it necessarily. Usually there's a pre-designed list of how to make it.
You don't get to choose the quantity of the pickles.
You have very little creative freedom, even, and there's just a thing that drives people nuts. I think after a long time.
Well, that's very menial.
Yeah.
Like just by nature, but that unfortunately is the job. To find a purely creative job, you can't find a job that will pay you for just being creative.
I would say that's not necessarily true for a couple reasons.
Well, you have to get lucky.
It's the whole 1% of everybody kind of thing gets to be in that position. If you go up even to my job, construction, you have to go up the chain to, you're looking at basically architects and engineers, and they get to use their brain power to sort of come up with unique ways of solving problems. And that's about as far as that goes. And then a bunch of other people have to step in and approve it and fucking change your vision, all the sorts of things. But at least you get a significant creative input in that case. And another type of example is just content creators. Like a photographer of some kind has an extreme tolerance of creative input.
True.
Like, yes, you might be getting paid to shoot certain types of, I don't know, weddings or portraits or whatever. But you could easily flip on a dime and say, I'm going to shoot this, and I'm going to shoot it this way, and that's my style, and you might fail. But you might
that's
also
just
be
it.
successful.
If we're talking about jobs that pay for the creativity, yeah, that's right. If I wanted to just, I can't think of anything super creative on the photography. If I wanted to go out and just shoot every different type of tree trunk, like if I wanted to make tree trunk photography, and that was my thing, and I thought it was super creative, that's fine. That's great. I can be as creative as I want. I'm sure there's some really beautiful patterns in tree trunks now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Am I going to make money?
No.
So that's what we're...
Unless lightning in a bottle and, people for some reason start collecting tree trunk artwork. But
if you're interested in tree trunk photography, let me know.
we do commissions.
Yes. Yeah. Like even purely creative... Like, there are people that get paid. I rewatched Steve Jobs. Not the Ashton Kutcher one. The one that was done by Aaron Sorkin.
Keep talking.
Okay. Rewatched Steve Jobs. It was a very good movie. Am I talking? You're... okay. I wasn't going to keep talking if you were going to go to the washroom, because I wouldn't be talking to you anymore. Very good movie, but then I watched some of the behind the scenes because it's very interesting. It's written like a stage play almost. It's a 3-act movie. Every act is 30 minutes pretty much to a T, and it's basically all dialogue. There's not a ton of action. And Aaron Sorkin, critically acclaimed writer, Social Network, stuff like that, his agent at the kind of the studio's behalf said, here's money. You're writing this. That's it. And he didn't say, this is what we want to happen. He said, we have the rights to the Walter Isaacson book. Adapt it. And then that might be the purest creativity.
Now, would that be too much pressure? Because now it's so open-ended. Where do you even begin?
Which is why that
humans can't deal with that much creativity, I don't think.
He did. Because he turned it on its head, basically. When you're doing a biopic, like if I told you, I mean, we watched Bohemian Rhapsody, it's right there.
Great film.
Good movie. You're playing the hits. You're playing Freddie Mercury's hits. That's literally what it is. Yeah. All the points of his life in chronological order. It's a birth to the grave story, basically. Starts a little bit later than birth. That's fine. Jersey Boys. We've seen the movie. We're going to see the show. Greatest hits. Mm-hmm. Kind of same thing. Birth to grave. Again.
Not too hard to weave a narrative with things that already exist.
No, like that's true. The Ashton Kutcher Steve Jobs movie from 2013. Same sort of thing. Greatest hits. Pirates of Silicon Valley, just because I'm going to be talking about the Steve Jobs thing. That's from 99. Greatest hits. Greatest hits of Steve Jobs and Bill Gates in that point. A lot of movies are like that. You do a biopic, quite often it's going to be the key points. Those are what people want to see. So you would think that oh, you're going to do a Steve Jobs biopic and it's going to be based on the novel. The novel itself is very detailed, but it once again is greatest hits. It's huge. It's a wonderful book, but it starts from when he was born and goes to when he dies. Aaron Sorkin said, yeah, I'm not going to do that. Plus, a biopic about him just came out a few years ago. So what does he do? He says, we're going to base it around the 3 product launches. We're going to base it around the Macintosh launch, the Next computer launch, and the iMac launch. The 3 kind of big
and a failure of sorts?
Well, the Macintosh wasn't a failure.
No, that was not a failure.
The Next computer
Yes.
was,
Yes.
but if it had not existed, the Apple OS probably wouldn't be where it is today because they borrowed. So there's that, and then the iMac was the kind of the coming home again thing for Steve Jobs. Okay, so we're going to do it based on the 3 product launches. And then he admits everything that we talked about in the movie happened, but it didn't happen 30 minutes before the launch. So the story of his relationship with his daughter, his relationship with the new CEO of Apple and everything, it's all conversation.
There's a lot about his daughter in the film? Okay. So I was listening to the CBC like half a year ago sometime, and they were going over a bunch of how her relationship to her father was, and maybe it was because it was surrounding that release of that film, but I don't know. It was interesting anyways. I could see how it could be in a movie.
Yes. And he openly admits this discussion never happened 30 minutes. I mean, some of it potentially, I guess, could have, but this never happened exactly like this. Yeah. But the drama and the character points and the way Steve Jobs was, that was the portrayal, and it was a very, very unique biopic. He didn't die. He didn't even release the iPod. At the end of the movie, he's telling his daughter, because his daughter, Lisa, was always kind of a interesting person, and she had a Walkman. That's the only thing that's a little bit silly. The movies typically show, like the Steve Jobs or the Ashton Kutcher one, he is seen wandering the Apple campuses before he becomes CEO again, and he's got a Walkman, and he's like, I hate this, like it doesn't work. And you're like, oh, okay, I get it. And you know what? That probably was kind of like that. They did say they designed the original iPod as something that they thought would be cool and handy. So having a Walkman that skipped all the time or only held 1 CD, I can see the inspiration. They did the same thing in the Sorkin movie, but instead he's like, I'm going to change that. 1,000 songs in your pocket. But it never gets to that point. But it's just a very neat movie. It's well directed.
What classic Apple products do you still have?
Classic?
Yeah, like stuff that's older than, I don't know, 10 years. You got any old iPods and iPhones?
Well, I have the iPhone 4, which isn't 10 years. It's going on 9 years?
It's older. I wouldn't put it as classic.
I like it a lot.
I
love the iPhone 4.
The comparison that they made immediately was comparing Apple to Leica and the way that the form factor was. Something about the squared off body and all the metal that was used. It was this really mechanically beautiful thing. And I will say, I had an iPhone 4S at one point. That was probably one of the best feeling products as far as build quality and design I've ever had. I mean, I've never had a Leica camera. I probably won't, but no, it was excellent in terms of that.
I like it.
Yeah.
And I
build quality of even the old iPod, the big ones, the ones they called the classics after a while or something, those felt great.
Yeah.
Some of the heavier ones. Even the first gen one was okay, although the plastics felt a little cheap.
In a box, I have a few older iPods, but that's the extent of it. I didn't have the older stuff. My original MacBook was stolen, so I don't have my original battery replaceable MacBook. It came with the plastic battery, which you could just click and
take the tab out.
Kind of neat. That was stolen, so I didn't get to keep it.
Still available on lots of Windows machines, but
Yes. I have my 2011 MacBook Pro, so that's 8 years old.
dated but not classic.
No, but it's close to 10. And I have an original. I have the original iPod Shuffle somewhere.
That's cool. See that did in the classic vein.
That was the first iPod I had.
Was it? Yeah.
Yep.
I was too poor to get. Well, actually, no. I had an iPod Touch when I was in high school.
Too poor. Best iPod.
It was the best iPod, but when I was much younger than that, like I was in my late teens or something. Maybe not my late teens. Somewhere in my teens when I got that. And yeah, it was grateful. It was the 8 gig one. It was the cheapest one you could get. But before that, I'd never been able to. I had a disc player and some kind of.
I had an MP3 player before.
Oh yeah, I did buy one MP3. I think it was RCA MP3 player. Had a half a gig micro SD card in it. It was okay. It worked.
No, the iPod. Yeah, it'd be the iPod Shuffle would probably be the oldest one that I have because that was my first one. I got an iPod Nano to replace it, and then I got my first iPod Touch, which I had for years. Like that. Yeah. I don't know. I did have a Walkman too, and they let Walkman, whatever, Sony Walkman for a long time. And I don't know if the life cycle of a iPod was longer than a Walkman, but like,
well, it wouldn't. I think a Walkman probably had a longer lifespan. Nah,
more moving parts.
Oh, you mean like how long it lasted?
Yeah.
Oh no, iPods are pretty much indestructible if you. It was so weird because when they were really popular, I'd be in the returns line at Best Buy or something, and like there's always a man there like, oh, my daughter dropped this off the couch and hit the carpet and it broke or something, which sounds absolutely ridiculous because every instance I've ever seen of an iPod taking a fall or whatever, especially the old ones that didn't have screens that would just shatter.
Yeah.
They're like indestructible. Yeah. Even the ones with the hard drives were fucking durable, even though they had a mechanical hard drive inside of them.
The first iPod Touch that I had, I didn't have a case on it. And I had it from, well, it was the first iPod Touch. So whenever it came out, probably 2008, 2009, probably around then, till 2014. Mm-hmm. And I never had an issue with it. Oh. On my birthday in 2014, Jessica and I were heading out. I thought I'd put it in my pocket, and I moved my hand because I had gloves on. Didn't have a case on it. Never had a case. Yeah. And it fell face first on the ground, and it shattered the screen. Yeah. So I bought myself a birthday present. I bought the one that I have now. Okay. Well, actually, no, that's not true. I bought the one that I have now, then I got robbed in Cuba, and then I got it replaced. I got robbed in Cuba a few months after I got that iPod, so...
Sucks.
That was not pleasant.
No.
Those
devices had decent build quality overall, but there was some weird quirks, like the MP3 player I had. I remember very distinctly now what it felt like in my hand, and to plug it into the computer, it had a full-size USB. And it was kind of the same idea as like a flash drive now, where there was like an actual plastic cap that went over the end of it that you'd have to take off.
That was the iPod Shuffle, though, too.
Shuffle did that, too? No way it was the same like that.
Yeah.
Really?
The original iPod Shuffle.
Oh, I guess it did, yeah. Yeah, okay. The MP3 player I had was like that. And the cap, I don't think, fell off in your pocket at any point.
No.
But
even the iPod Shuffle, it came with two caps. One was just the standard curved cap, and the other one was one where you could wear it around your neck. And even wearing it around your neck, it was never an issue.
There's a strange nostalgia I have that I could feel, especially like in high school. I remember distinctly going for like runs and stuff like that when I was in some kind of exercise class. And there's the weird connection where I had my own music, my own MP3s that I got probably from LimeWire at the time. And I don't remember any interface like this. It was just skip. You could skip songs. You could change the volume. There was very few functions. The screen had different like LED backlight colors. That was it. You didn't look at the thing too much. You just kept
Right.
pressing buttons, which was kind of interesting. Very, very interesting. I watched a documentary on LimeWire the other day. Did you
On
use that?
YouTube?
Yeah, you saw it too?
I watched it this morning.
It's probably in the recommended videos or something. It was from a YouTuber I've never seen before, but it
Yeah.
must have blown up.
Did you use LimeWire?
Yes, prolifically. From quite the early 2000s.
I didn't use it
soon
from
after
the
it came out.
early. I got out of it probably right around the time when it got, destroyed. Because basically, as soon as I went to school in 2010, they were all like, as future content creators,
You shouldn't do that.
You shouldn't do that.
I hate the guilt people would associate with it.
But you know what?
It was freedom.
It was, and it changed the industry to an extent, but it is true. It's problematic. I told you the Paranormal Activity story, right?
Yeah.
How I guilted my teacher.
I think so. I think we did that on
Pretty
this
sure.
podcast.
Yeah. So that's nice, but as you said, there's so many moving parts to a movie, and then somebody just steals it.
Oh, yeah. There's definitely negative attributes about it, but it's so one-sided to look at it and say, people are just stealing the things that people have made, and these people work so hard, because there's so many benefits to having such proliferation of your content. I don't think a lot of people were suing LimeWire for one of them was, they said it was something in the trillions of dollars, some ridiculous amount. And it's like these companies, I'm sorry, you never would have made those sales.
No.
Not a chance. Not even 1% of the sales you're projecting would have ever happened.
And there's some arguments. Vince Gilligan has said quite a bit that Breaking Bad wouldn't have been the success that it was without people watching it illegally.
Yeah. Oh, I torrented all of it. And I bought lots of stuff later. That's
Right.
the thing. I paid
And every
for
time-
it later.
I've watched it legally on Netflix, but every time I see a box set on sale of everything, because it came with a few exclusive behind-the-scenes documentaries, and it's just a neat thing. I'm like, yeah, I'll get it one day just because I've enjoyed it so much.
And the documentary kind of goes over that, where that system of things where people want content, they want it now, and you can see consumer behavior, and it paved the way for things like Netflix and the way that Apple Music and all these companies are doing it right now.
Well, iTunes, again, in the book, is Steve Jobs, when the iTunes store came out, he said, when you think about having to do your torrenting and whatnot, you never knew originally if it was going to be a high quality.
And I was fine with taking that risk.
Right.
'Cause
And some people would, but if you really wanted it to be high quality, you could spend a lot of time finding the high quality or the best version.
it's fun in doing that.
So when iTunes came out, he said each song's 99 cents. That's it. And if you take even 20 minutes trying to find the best version of the song, you're working for less than minimum wage.
It's an interesting argument from a person that's trying to get the money from you, but
99 cents. 99 cents, bam, you're done. It's not stealing. And at one point, I forget which point, I always think about going back to the book. I think it was when they introduced iCloud. They said you could back up your music library to iCloud, and no matter where you got the music, ill-gotten gained or not, they would give you the high quality and for whatever format version of it in the cloud.
AAC or
Yeah.
whatever Apple's bullshit
So
is.
that was a neat thing for them to do. To just say,
It's a strange thing in my opinion, but whatever. I did like that you could. I used the CD burning feature a lot in iTunes. iTunes was really good for that.
I did too.
Rip all my CDs to a library in their full .wave uncompressed format.
When I was in college, our radio teacher, every lab, and I'm pretty sure his labs were on Fridays, he would always start with a song. And the song would be based on something big that happened in the audio world or media world. And one Friday, Here Comes the Sun was playing. And why? And when you think about it now, that's amazing. Why was Here Comes the Sun playing? because that was when the Beatles collection dropped on iTunes, where you could buy everything, the entire collection for like whatever it was, $1.99 or $2.99, like every album, absolutely everything, and that was a big deal.
Sounds pretty great, although I probably pirated on LimeWire like a decade prior.
Well, of course. I like it because they put such a great amount of care into the, I mean, they now have a collection of some really good digital tracks, so they have a curated museum of digital music.
That's the funny thing about stuff, especially torrents like you would find on the Pirate Bay. There's curators to it. There's people who are so incredibly passionate about certain artists and certain music that they've put together these... It almost is like its own product. Except the person creating it knows it's going to be free. And they're almost just riding off the karma of that. They're doing it for nothing but just the greater
Joy.
good. Yeah. Incredible lossless files all over the place. People taking time to convert certain things, include certain album artworks, and like just a detailed list of things. You have this like digital copy of something it feels like a product. Like if they sold that in the store, if they did, I'd buy it, right? But a lot of times they don't sell similar things to that. I went to Sunrise Records the other day. You couldn't walk out of there with a Led Zeppelin album for less than $30. It was ridiculous. Some artists, they just charge a lot. It's not most of the artists that do that, but they put their music on a pedestal. And it was for what? Like there was some soft cover CDs. There was there was just one album, and it wasn't anything special. It wasn't like some kind of set or anything. It's kind of lame. I mean, if there was decent products for that, I'd buy them for sure.
Hey, I was happy. Well, everybody's all like, "Oh, the Beatles for $1.99 or $2.99, whatever the price point was." Pretty sure it was $1.99, which, I mean, for everything that came, including some unreleased tracks, and I'm pretty sure there were some bonus tracks where you actually got to listen to the band create like some of their hits. Like they recorded the entire session, so you got to hear them playing the riffs, develop the riffs.
To do that,
right? So everybody's talking about that. Oh, it's $1.99. Oh, and also, by the way, the entire Jimmy Buffett collection is $49.99.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sure, done. Let's do it. 50 years of music. Let's go for it.
Like the Beatles collection, it's not everything they ever made. It's just
It was.
It was. Oh God. See, there's a lot.
It was a good deal.
But there's a lot of crap in there. That's
Well,
unfortunate.
yeah, and that's kind of
less of a curated list at that point, more just filter through it.
It is the ultimate collection of everything, and some people would want that. There's a lot of crap in the Jimmy Buffett collection too.
It almost seems weird to collect it digitally though. I don't like having digital baggage. Like if I bought a CD and it had a couple songs on it I didn't care for, it seems almost less offensive than on my computer. If I am listening to stuff, I will just delete it off my hard drive. I don't want it if it's not something I'm going to listen to. So strange. I don't know. I wouldn't want to have it packaged in there in the first place. I'm a big fan of getting music from like greatest hits albums.
Greatest hits albums are nice.
Yeah. And you know, I guess that's kind of a basic thing to say, but for the most part, the hits don't lie.
No.
For the most part.
I mean, I think of like some of the problem is, oh, are you a fan? Yeah. You know what? I love the Who. What Who songs do I have? Just from the greatest hits. Consequently, also.
At least it's not just the ones that appear in CSI.
Basically, that's what it is.
Oh, God.
Okay, so of the one Who CD that I had, which was the greatest hits,
Yeah.
I think there was 10 songs on there. 3 of them are from CSI, right? So already 30%, and then the other ones, they're not, like, you become, I don't want to say a lukewarm fan, not that it's that big a deal, but you can't say, oh, sure, I have Ozzy Osbourne on my iPod. What do I have on it? What's on it?
Probably got Crazy Train.
Yeah, exactly.
Which isn't even Ozzy Osbourne. It's Black. Or no. It's Ozzy Osbourne. For some reason, it slipped my mind. But a lot of people will have stuff from Black Sabbath, and I think they got Ozzy Osbourne.
But
Pigs or Iron Man or something.
Stuff like that, you miss. Sometimes there is good things that wasn't a hit, or weren't like. There's sometimes some really good shit that wasn't a top 40 hit or whatever.
Oh yeah.
So having the entire collection, although then that takes time because you got to go through it all and think, oh, well, this is good. And then that's
what
hard.
a first world problem, having to go through a list of stuff you had downloaded.
I realize it's not an actual problem. But then music also changes over time.
Sure.
Personally.
People's personal preferences
yeah.
don't change much over time.
They do a little bit.
We're at the end of our plasticity on music. Pretty much whatever we like at this point in our lives, it's not changing.
No. I'm not. I don't mean that. I mean, if you like, okay, I find it, and I hate bringing it up, but it is just the way it is. As I've said before, I've gotten older. I appreciate other Jimmy Buffett songs more than others now because they have different themes, different emotions, different lyrics. Like it's
maybe relatable.
It's more relatable. Sure. So whereas I will still, as I've said before, enjoy Margaritaville whenever it's on. Is it the most played song on my iPod? Fuck no. Was it ever? I really hope not. But there's smaller songs that are just more meaningful. That, yeah, the taste in the artist hasn't changed, but the songs have changed. The lyrics perhaps mean something different.
Which is kind of why a lot of people can sort of stick to what they know from their entire lives and not really have to worry about it. Because it's almost like what's old is new again after you yourself go through certain changes, or you decide to listen to something after a very long time of not listening to it and gain a new appreciation for it. It's every once in a while I think maybe I should go. I know it still exists on a computer with a hard drive at my parents' cottage. This computer is like so outdated. It probably had like an 80 gigabyte full size hard drive. It has all of the things I ever downloaded from LimeWire. Yeah. And I know for a fact that I never thought about a lot of the artists and stuff that was on that probably in that list ever again. I never, just because I consume stuff in album formats now. Like after LimeWire died off and I stopped using it, I became a little bit more basic in that I would just go buy albums at the store or whatever and just consume music differently like that. And there's a lot of stuff, a lot of one-off stuff that I probably have entirely forgotten about for a good 10 years. Maybe 15, yeah.
Had a hard drive crash on an old computer of mine when I was in my first year of college, so probably early 2011. And I didn't get it fixed because it wasn't my main computer. It was a desktop. It was a Windows computer, but I wasn't using it for anything but maybe The Sims 2. But it was my computer that I had used throughout like 2004 to 2010, so 6 years of teenage everything.
Yep.
A lot of writing projects on and whatnot, but I did have backups of it. Didn't think about it till one day at BD's where I'm like, we got a tech guy. So I went to him. I'm like, I have a really old hard drive. It still works. Can you get stuff off of it?
Was it an IDE cable hooked up to it?
I can't remember.
Okay. I want to hear the rest of the story because I might have a solution.
I got it somewhere. Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
It was an 80 gig hard drive as well.
Okay.
And he's like, sure. So he brought it in, or I brought it in, and he got everything off.
Oh, nice.
And it was interesting to go back, because I got a lot of old stories that I didn't even remember that I had wrote or written that were crap and probably shouldn't have been.
Mm-hmm.
And the LimeWire music, which is also a common thing. Justin, did you ever use LimeWire?
All the time. Gave my computer viruses.
Only if you're not careful about it. Viruses were quite
what were
prolific.
you? We're talking because I used LimeWire. What did you still have torrented stuff? What do you use?
Do you get the email from the internet service provider telling you that he's torrenting shit?
No. When LimeWire went down, I switched to FrostWire.
Oh yeah, that was a thing
which
for a while.
Was the same thing, basically, just
pretty much
different. But when I, torrented a lot of stuff.
His computer, it killed his computer.
You got to be careful with torrents are easy because at least you can see what the files are before you get them.
Yeah.
LimeWire, you can hide shit,
Yeah.
which is why people got a lot of viruses.
But I used to torrent like TV shows.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. From Pirate Bay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Domains keep changing on that, but it is still up.
Yeah.
It is still
But
up.
I don't use it anymore.
You're a streamer.
Yes. Yeah.
It's too convenient with a lot of the streaming services that it's almost unnecessary
Yeah.
in many ways.
Do you still have a torrent on your computer?
I still have uTorrent on my computer. I just.
Oh yeah, you can use it to acquire lots of other stuff.
Yeah. When I don't want to pay $10 for a CD, a full album, I'll just.
Yeah, although YouTube has made that too easy now. You don't even need a torrent. You just, I mean,
Use YouTube to MP3.
Yeah.
or this is what's smart.
I'm too keen on the lossless stuff that I don't want to deal with.
Well, I understand that, but sometimes, especially for like a royalty-free music or
royalty-free music makes sense.
soundtracks or sound effects.
Yeah.
If you go this is not necessarily good to say, but www. Whatever YouTube video you have, then you take out the UBE in YouTube and just do yut.com/whatever it is. It'll take you right to a download thing.
They have a program too, which is not half bad.
And I think if you have YouTube Red, you can actually download the videos anyways.
You can save them for offline use. Yeah. You save them for offline use. They're not really downloaded.
Oh, okay.
It's like cached for a while.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Paid YouTube services.
It's expensive too. Well,
yes.
Do you know how much it is?
What is it? $10 a month or something? Maybe more than that.
Maybe more than that.
That's pricey. When you say, "Oh, we're going to be more expensive than Netflix," that's
And then you get all your YouTube comedy skits that only are YouTube Red exclusive. Yeah.
That was another fine cameo by Justin DeCoon.
Do you know how many of them he's up to now?
Pardon?
Do you know how many he's got?
How many are you up to, Justin?
I've lost count.
I should go back and take a look. Maybe I'll have a Justin cameo meter for next episode.
YouTube Premium in US is saying something about $11.99 USD. So it's probably quite a bit Canadian. Oh,
It's probably like $14.99 Canadian.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pricey. You do get, I guess, a lot. But I like Google Play Music. It's not, I mean, I'm not paying for it. Somebody else is paying for me, which is nice. But yeah, you get a lot. I like it. I wonder if they're ever going to stop paying for me. That'd be annoying. Because I haven't talked to them about it for more than a year after they gave me a link to their family plan thing. Oh.
I use for music YouTube and Amazon Music because it's with my Prime.
What's that like?
It's basically a mix between Spotify and Apple Music, but there's, as with Amazon Prime Video, there's less of a music selection, but it's fine. I don't know if they have a separate function where you don't get Prime, but you can just pay a subscription for Prime Music. I wouldn't do that, but since it comes with Prime, I see it as a sales pitch. Like, hey, when you get Amazon Prime, you also get Amazon Prime Video and Amazon Prime Music.
It's convenient,
right? Yeah. So there is merit there, but I wouldn't pay for it. But I also don't pay for Apple Music or anything like that.
A lot of, pretty much everybody I know with an iPhone, for the most part, pays for Apple Music.
I do not.
Sort of trap themselves in that world.
And then, like, Melissa has Spotify, so when we're driving, because streaming music on your phone is just it's so negligible to your data plan. It's
not terrible. Podcasts especially I like doing.
Yeah. Speaking of podcasts on iTunes and Spotify and Google Play Music, a funny thing happened on the way to the podcast is available.
Yeah. Check us out. Even though you're already listening to us, so I don't really mind if you do it whatever way you've already.
Some episodes are weird. Like some of them are listened to. I don't understand. We don't have enough views for the analytics to make any sense.
No. Okay. drop a comment on the Facebook video of where you prefer to choose your podcast listening.
Where do you listen to them on?
I listen to podcasts mostly on YouTube because people have like video ones, and it's just I listen to them when I'm at my desktop.
Me too.
A lot of the time.
Yep.
But if I'm not at my desktop, a lot of times I'll use Google Play Music because people will archive them there. And I like the interface of Google Play Music a lot more than Apple Music. So that's where I like to go. I mean, really, I don't listen to much other than the Joe Rogan podcast. And I'll occasionally try a new podcast and I'll just listen to one. And usually I never listen to more than that, but it kind of gives me an idea of what people are talking about. Like there's like historical ones that talk about historical figures or like just completely different podcast ideas. They're more shows than podcasts.
It's true. The podcast format it's really just a
Radio
title.
show. It's a radio show with people that are unqualified to have a radio show.
But if you want your own radio show, I sent you that link.
That was stupid.
That was weird.
So you sent me a link of
Because
a
Facebook
broadcasting service. of some
Facebook
kind.
just sends me everything that you would think would be good, but it's not.
I don't know what the heck the advantage is. It's a broadcasting service that puts you it doesn't do anything that I need something to do. It doesn't make any sense. There's already internet radio out there.
So let's give it its fair shot. I'll go
You can
back
already
to
live stream a podcast to Facebook or YouTube if you wanted to.
Well, that's just it. Like it's like, oh, you could potentially, unless you're putting us on the air, it's not.
It's the issue of not having eyeballs for
So
whatever.
it's citrus3.com.
Yeah.
It is a UK-based company, and citrus3.com should load. There we go. It's loading. Thank you. Citrus3.com. Citrus3.com is the internet radio company. Citrus3, or if anybody from Citrus3 is listening, we'd love to try you out.
Will we? No.
If you prove us wrong and let us try you out for free, I'd be willing to see what it's like.
I don't care. I don't care if it's free. I don't really want it.
Broadcasting has never been easier. Really? This is pretty easy.
It's really easy.
If we didn't have the video, the episode could be up tonight.
Yep. We
And even if we
just did it live.
yes, we could still do it live. I still want to try that. Just saying.
We'll do it.
Start an internet radio station and broadcast to listeners worldwide on any computer, phone, or internet radio in just a few minutes.
Kind of what we're already doing.
Software included for Mac and PC. It's a free radio
If I want to
page.
use my Ubuntu.
Don't have a website? No problem. Citrus3 provides a web page so your listeners can tune in right away. A powerful auto DJ. Simply upload your MP3s to Auto DJ service. Build your playlist and let Citrus3 do the broadcast for you.
So what, they just send it to people? Are they going to promote my content?
Well, let's see.
And also, who is it? People that have this app the only ones that can view the content? Because then you're promising me nothing, basically.
So if I was
looking at
really
this app?
into Citrus3 and I wanted the most expensive package,
Sure.
this is what I get. This is called the Shoutcast Pro package, which is $49 per month.
Holy fuck.
The stream quality. What would you think the stream quality is?
Data rate?
Yeah,
I don't know.
If you
Is
had to
it video or is it just
it's
audio?
audio.
It's got to be at least 320 kb per second. Fuck it then.
256.
Well, okay, that's probably what we're getting off YouTube. I don't know what other services have.
So your max listeners.
So
is,
fuck it. Why am I going to pay for that? That's ridiculous.
Max listeners is unlimited. Monthly bandwidth is unlimited.
Great. You mean like YouTube and Facebook and Spotify and everybody else?
Auto DJ is unlimited. Auto DJ storage, rather. It comes with a mobile app. Software is included. You have an HTML5 player, listener stats, and a control panel.
Listener stat. You mean analytics like everybody else
Yes.
has?
As I said, the software is included. Free web page, which you can hook up a domain to. Easy website integration. song requests, make your listeners love you and give them the freedom to request a song from your computer or auto DJ media library.
This is for DJs. This is what this is for. And also, it's still stupid. What's wrong with SoundCloud?
And then now there's now playing album art. Like,
it just shows like an image for...
Yeah.
Okay, this is a service that is not useful to us or I think anybody we know.
Facebook says it's useful to me.
So, well, somebody paid Facebook some advertising money for Facebook to tell you that.
I wonder what that was. The fact that maybe it's because I just said that I'm now an owner in a podcast. My job changed on Facebook.
Oh, now you're getting broadcasting shit. Why can't it just be like? Why can't they just start sending you like job applications for like radio DJ? Be a lot better.
You would have to go on Indeed for that.
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
It would be. I'm probably gonna sound a lot more raspy in my voice this podcast. I believe, getting sick, but I don't know for a fact yet because I feel pretty good.
You're pale.
Yeah, that might just be because I don't know. I'm exhausted and probably not getting sun because the sun doesn't shine anymore.
The sun doesn't come out tomorrow?
I don't know. I think the next 2 days will be good weather.
What's the weather supposed to be like in Barrie this weekend, Eric?
I'm not going to Barrie.
Well, up north.
Yeah, we're going to we're almost going to Sudbury.
Okay.
Okay, well, we got to do a contrast. So where we are in St. Catharines, current weather is -4. It's been snowing all day. So it's been a hectic blizzard kind of day.
It's been not bad, not amazing.
But for this weekend, in perspective, because that's when we're going, it'll be 4 degrees, 2 degrees, and -3 degrees over the cross. Those are the highs for the day, and the lows about -7 to -9. Now I'm gonna look up weather specifically where we are going to. So in a nearby city of Nouvelleville, the current weather is -6.
So not that big a difference.
Overnight low of -18.
It's chilly.
Yeah, tonight. And on the weekend, the high for the 3 days is -1, -7, and -9, which is like the overnight lows we get down here. The overnight lows there are -16, -19, and again, -19. So it's going to be cold. But
That's
not
okay.
unbearable. I find it gets... The weather for up there around the French River area seems to be sunnier more often.
I I don't mind the cold at all.
No. Well, bring warm clothes.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I got warm clothes. Now that'll be great. I'm glad to get away.
We are doing a film project for those watching.
Yes.
It's not really anything too special just yet. It's just a bunch of us having fun with some cameras.
It might be special.
I don't know. Depends how much shit my brother talks, but that's to be seen.
Well, we'll see.
He's big into the idea.
I'll give him a realistic view on everything.
If any of our viewers are still watching, because we're into the podcast a good hour and 10 minutes or so, who in our audience likes like Trailer Park Boys or like Red Green Show?
I love Red Green. Met him once.
And can you envision a show that would embody Canadian humor? And do you think that those kind of shows do a good job, or do you think perhaps that there's some kind of void that's left not filled?
I think Canadian shows nowadays they're at a really healthy, I don't want to say peak, but they're at some of the best we've ever seen because we have Letterkenny, which is an awesome show.
Yes, my brother also talked about that as being an inspiration.
There's also Cavendish, which is a CBC original about brothers and PEI. Then there's always been the Red Green Show. Yep. There's Schitt's Creek.
There's lots of cartoons growing up as a kid. I loved Canadian
Corner
cartoons.
Gas.
Yeah,
love Corner Gas.
So maybe there isn't some kind of unfilled void. I'm thinking, and so is everybody else on this on this idea. Essentially, there's almost a French Canadian kind of twist. It's sort of a atmosphere that probably spans from about the middle or about northern Ontario to maybe towards the Maritimes, but it's, I don't know, there's a certain attitude people have and mannerisms and all that could really be funny.
Well, that's good because we mentioned Cavendish, so that's out east. Yeah. Letterkenny's out west. right? There's lots of stuff that takes place in the States, so you need the Northern Ontario feel.
Which for a lot of people is just depression, and it's not. A lot of people don't seem to live very fulfilled lives once you get north of Sudbury, pretty much.
That's okay.
Yeah.
We'll turn it into a film hotspot.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Me either.
Maybe about all it is now is like a moose hunting hotspot, and that's about it.
That's a hotspot.
There's so much good Canadian humor. Like even a good example for a cartoon, Ivana the Yukon, so good. I don't know if you ever watched any of that, but it's fantastic.
That's old.
Is it though? It was in the 2000s, wasn't it?
I bet earlier.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't even know what that
Late 90s. Mid to late 90s, my
mid
bet.
to late 90s.
My guess, 96.
Yvonne of the Yukon. Maybe.
I could be wrong.
Let's see if you're wrong. IMDb gives it a 6.9 out of 10. That's bullshit. That shows. I mean, they don't get our humor. That's what it is. That's what I've decided. Final episode date was 2005. So let me. I don't know.
Original air date, please.
I am looking for it. Yvonne of the Yukon. It ran for 3 seasons and had 52 episodes. So it looks like it's tipping in my favor right now in the 2000s.
Yeah, a little bit.
The fictional, based on the fictional town of Upper Muckshot, the show premiered on YTV on the 9th of September, 1999. So it premiered at the very end of the 90s.
Okay, fairly in between. I was wrong, but I did say mid to late 90s.
Even the animation style kind of reeks of the early 2000s, I would say. Fantastic show. Anyways, if you haven't seen it,
I've
to
seen
watch.
it.
Yeah.
That's good. There's Canadian content is great, especially Canadian content that celebrates Canada.
Yeah. It's a weird twist of pretty much all of. You think of white people a lot when you think of Canada because it's, I guess, a prolifically Caucasian country. But it's a lot of, like, European ancestry kind of people sort of meshing together, especially, like, obviously in the cities. But if you go up north, it's a lot of French, at least here. There's a lot of French background for French Canadians. And there's a lot of people that are native, Aboriginal to the land, which have an interesting twist on it. And there's almost an accent, and a lot of the show is going to be based off that. There's almost an accent that manifests somewhere from here to the Maritimes with people that have this French-Canadian kind of accent mixed with, like, the Newfie kind of accent, maybe mixed with some of the mannerisms of natives, and it all just comes together, and you get this strange combination of people that are quite something of their own.
It's a boiling pot or I don't know what I was going for. We're a weird mixed culture.
It's almost our version, and it is definitely insulting, but you got to think of it in a good way almost. It's almost our Canadian version of, like, trailer trash, a little bit. It's like the hillbillies. It's like the people of society that aren't necessarily the academics or the people that are at the forefront of anything, but they get by and they have great personalities and funny stories to tell, and we're not inherently as violent as our American counterparts, which I mean, Trailer Park Boys is a bit of a parody of that, which is, it's kind of funny. They involve lots of guns and drugs.
That show
stuff like that
is so,
it's over the top, but it's
over
good.
the top, but it's amazing.
I have an appreciation for it now. Anyways, I feel like I'm killing brain cells as I watch it, but it's fantastic.
The first season, when you like,
the production value is so low.
Well, that's just it. When you look at a low budget TV show that kind of connected with people, the first season, they knew what they didn't have, and then that's how they shot it. There's quite a few scenes that you don't normally see in high budget TV shows where if the camera now has your shoulder in it. Yeah. So you're here, and if I went 20 feet that way on a high budget show, if I'm talking to you, you probably hear me talk to you, or at least the camera could hear me talk to you, or the microphone could. They didn't have the budget for a secondary boom or a lav. So when you yell at me, that microphone hears you, and then when I yell at you, you can tell I'm far away. Like they played with the budget.
It kind of it doesn't feel wrong the way that
It doesn't feel wrong.
A lot of the talking head stuff too is interesting. The way they're trying to play it out like it's a documentary of these people's lives, and it's funny. It is very funny. That you gotta get creative, I guess, with the low budget kind of stuff.
You do.
I would love to know and pioneer some kind of technique to do that. I guess, and we're not as low budget in the sense that we have actually pretty good equipment at our disposal, but there's obviously still limitations when you don't have anybody helping you with the production. You have maybe
What's the limitation?
we have a limited number of people. We don't have real actors for what we're going to try to do, which doesn't require too many people, luckily, so we can find some
You have a
people
production. You have a crew of 3.
Yeah. We got to do sound, lighting,
That's you.
camera operation. Of course, it's me.
You're the sound guy.
I don't.
You like sound.
I do. I like video aspects of stuff
Right.
too, and I like lighting. I like all of it.
Right.
I would be bored out of my mind if I had to do one of those for the rest of my life. If I was in the film industry and I was a boom operator, it's done. I had to bring that up because it's somewhat relevant to right now. And yes, it is a touchy topic, but I just read an article in the news that could basically be summarized as man from Mississauga comes to St. Catharines, somebody who jumped and died, unfortunately. But the article could be summarized as police launch an investigation into person's death.
And it was
And
canceled.
they found out that the person jumped of their own will. Okay. They were looking for like a month into stuff.
No.
What do they think? The person was forced at gunpoint to jump off of a bridge?
It's possible.
Possible, but it's
They don't investigate every death like that. So sometimes the reason why they do it is there could have been a reason for it.
Sure, there probably could have
Shouldn't
been.
have taken a month, but there could have been a reason for it.
Maybe. I don't know much about police work, so
I
give them the benefit of the doubt, perhaps. But the
love-
article was stupid.
Yes,
I didn't like the
I
article.
read the same article. I love low budget filmmaking, and I think that I probably love high budget filmmaking too. But I think that the ability to go out now and shoot something, I think it's gonna look really good. I think even if it's a rush, I think we can make it look really good, and we can really showcase a talent. And there's lots of stuff that I want to talk to you about, but we won't talk about it here.
Here's the thing that I will talk about. I have a big preference, and we've talked about it before, I know for a fact on the podcast, for practical effects. Stunts.
Practical all the time.
And doing stunts and blowing stuff, actually blowing stuff up. And I don't know. For some reason, I don't feel like I would ever be staying true to myself if it was all green screen all of a sudden. It was all fake. And sometimes it's necessary.
Sometimes it's very necessary. One of the things that Teal and I talk about with her script is how you do things low budget without making it look shit. And sometimes you have to get really creative, and I haven't come up with a practical way of doing it. In her script, there's a rock slide scene. A bunch of rocks fall down. A low budget movie, and I hate it when they do this.
Shaking a camera or something.
So there'd be camera shake, and then you'd get B-roll or stock footage of a rock slide, and then it cuts to your actor underneath the rocks. That's horrible.
Yes.
That's horrible. And there's ways around it. But how do you do it that makes it look good?
Here's an interesting thing that we have the freedom to do since we're not a bunch of pussies in a film union. We could set up a rock slide. I'm gonna make a bold statement. I don't like the idea of unions in general. I think they make things a bit too soft on the edges. You could legit set up a rock slide if you're not having somebody breathing down your neck about health and safety, and you knew that you could do it.
Can't put the actors in
a safe
risk, though.
Oh
or
no,
in
of
danger.
course not. But you could have a legit rock slide, practical effect.
No.
Without nobody at risk.
No, I'm not saying that. The rock slide's fine. It's how do you... Because you can't put an actor underneath a rock slide.
No,
Safely.
Not safely.
So then... or even unsafe. I mean, it's not good. So you need to find a way to mix. Because doing a practical rock slide, sure, that's great. We get to plan it exactly.
There's things you can do. I know there's things you could. Let's say you change the circumstances, and for some reason they are around some kind of debris, or there's a car door, or there's something around them that is a blockade, and you could do the physics equations if you wanted to. How much power do those rocks coming down the hill have? Because you've weighed them, and you know the slope, and you've measured, and you could deduce they're not going to hurt
Don't
the
watch a
person
lot of
behind the
movies,
door.
do you? Most people don't take real physics into account.
Yes. Well, I would love to do that because then it would be somewhat more convincing and I wouldn't feel like it'd be keeping me up at night knowing that I lied and people are going to call me out on my bullshit. You could probably do it. You just have to change the circumstances that put the person out of danger.
Oh, yeah.
And there's lots of film projects that people do that still have an element of danger to them. I mean, like you could look at Jackass films as an extreme example. There's
That's
lots
a
of
ver-
stunts that
That's a
hurt people.
very extreme example.
Yes.
Even Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible is probably one of the more mainstream movies where they're like, wait a second. Tom Cruise on an actual side of an airplane. Most people wouldn't do that. Most people wouldn't put the airplane that high up. No green screen. Let's do it. That's crazy. Right? That's real. There's some major props to that film crew that'll just say, sure, yeah, Tom Cruise, airplane, let's go. Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Scaling a building in Dubai? Holy shit.
People do things like that for the sake of doing them, not necessarily for the sake of filming them.
Well, I know, but when you put
Kind
it
of
to
interesting.
film,
Yeah.
that's where it becomes interesting because most people are never going to be able to experience.
But some people do take those risks.
There was a movie starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt where he played a tightrope walker. I can't remember the name of the movie. It came out a few years ago. High Wire, something like that. And the whole plot of the movie was him planning to walk across the Twin Towers. Can't remember the name of the movie.
I think we've talked about this on the podcast.
The cinematography in that movie, the camera movements, I saw it in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
When the camera's moving and he's walking and it cranes down below, there's that whole, hey, don't look down. Big theater. That's a thing that most people will never be able to experience that. Mm-hmm. So putting it down to film, even if it was CG, they conveyed it very well. I would not have let Joseph Gordon-Levitt tightrope walk across. Well, you can't tightrope walk across the Twin Towers anymore, but
No, he cannot.
But that's something that CG is almost needed for,
Yeah.
and it was breathtaking.
If it's this big scale production where you need to do these crazy stunts, sure. I don't think I would be like working on anything that's of that level.
Okay,
at any
Christmas
time.
movie, CG will be needed.
Because sleighs flying through
Yes.
the sky and shit. Yeah,
That's
that's fair.
That's
fine.
needed.
You're working with the constraint of a lore, and you have to deliver.
Yes.
In that case,
Um,
quite
the
literally.
best argument for CG versus practical that I've seen in recent times, take 2015's Jurassic World versus 2018's Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. 2015's Jurassic World was all CG. Every dinosaur there was, except for one scene with an Apatosaurus where they used a robotic arm or neck, everything else was CG.
Yeah, and it was
Everything. It was okay CG. Some of them, I remember when I saw it in theaters, I'm like, that's either an animatronic, because I didn't know that they hadn't used any animatronics. I'm like, that's either really, really good CG or really, really good animatronics. It was all CG. 2018's Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom used a lot more animatronics, and it makes such a difference.
Does it? Yeah.
There's a scene in the movie where they're operating on one of the raptors, and it's a real robot. It's laying there, it's interacting, it's biting at them, and the actors are acting. It sounds stupid, but they're acting to this dinosaur.
Because they have something in front of them.
They have
that can
something
react to.
physical in front. He's scratched. It's
helps
an
with
awesome
motivation.
scene. It's probably one of the best scenes in the movie.
Yeah.
Because there's emotion, and the robotics are so good when you see this raptor's face and they're looking like the robot is emoting as well.
I want to take an interesting turn almost with motivations, because we're talking about the motivation of actors in that situation. I just thought of Trailer Park Boys, and I thought of something new with it that I've never thought about before. That is the only TV show where I can say that the camera crew is an active part of the motivation of the characters, because
What about The Office?
oh yeah, that too, I guess. But in the Trailer Park Boys, in a more low-budget fashion, many scenes start with the camera crews turning on the cameras literally as they're coming up to, like, they're approaching the actors in a place. They come around a corner and they're there, and they pull the camera like they're following them like a film crew would. And it changes the mood of it so much more, where they almost are putting on this like, you get that actors are sort of acting. You get the vibe that they're acting a little bit because there's some camera watching
Yeah.
them. They're playing up this drama or whatever's going on because they know that they're being watched all of a sudden. Like they're doing something and mood changes because the camera guy's there. And it's a weird thing where you can actually acknowledge the camera in that situation, whereas most TV is don't look at the camera, don't pretend it doesn't exist.
No, that's true.
Yeah. And The Office is another example, I guess, where that sort of comes
The
into play.
Office, basically any camera, any show that has that style where there's supposed to be a camera crew watching. So The Office, Modern Family does it a bit too, especially because the characters react to the camera more so than just breaking the fourth wall, but they do the sit down interviews and whatnot. So once the camera becomes a character or an active person involved, then that's when it can become interesting.
And it gives you an excuse to have a boom operator in a shot and other sorts of things that
Yeah, it
otherwise
clears up
wouldn't
a lot of potential issues.
yeah, it makes things easier. That's working within a budget and working within certain constraints. I want to go watch a movie at a theater right now, but I don't think I have time for that tonight, unfortunately.
You can come with Melissa and I.
What are you going to go see?
Isn't it romantic?
Huh, I haven't heard of it yet.
We explained it to Tila and you on Sunday. For me, it's almost like the perfect movie because yeah, it's cute because it's a romantic movie, but then also on the flip side, it's a movie that sends up romantic movies. She hits her head and she wakes up in a PG-13 movie.
Okay, that one.
But it's past your bedtime because it doesn't start till 9:40.
Yeah, I'm not be able to handle that.
But the concept, while nothing new, sure. You want to make fun of a genre? I'm with you.
88% of Google users liked it, but it only got a 6.1 on IMDb.
Whatever.
Yeah. Where do you normally go to watch your theater productions?
Well, this time it'll be in Welland.
So you're going to go to Welland?
Yeah.
I want to go, but no.
It's too late for you.
If only we're a little bit sooner. Okay, anyways, I think it's time to wrap up because we've had quite a good podcast.
This was a good one. Yeah. We'll talk to you same time, same place next Monday.
Also, if you made it to the end, write in the comments what you think of the audio. Does it sound good? Is it too quiet?
Probably sounds great unless I say sibilance.
The S's don't work well. Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good one. Bye-bye. See you later.